miles per hour. So it is theorized that we likely experienced stronger winds than that. But in this case, the actual recorded value did end up getting a little bit higher. But what about this? We have 84 and 81 mile per hour wind reports out of Lewiston and Pullman, and that is a devastating level of wind speed. You do not see things above 80 miles per hour very frequently. Even with the most powerful of thunderstorms, hitting that level is extremely rare. At that level, damage is almost a certainty at that level. So if there is damage in the region, that would be why. This also occurred at about 6 a.m. as a just powerful wave. It was severe thunderstorm warned, but not necessarily for the thunderstorm aspect itself, but it was a criteria that helped us elevate what is already the high wind warning and a severe criteria to just another step on top of it to make sure that it was well communicated that 80+ mile per hour winds were likely with that storm and ultimately did get recorded at both the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport and in Lewiston as well. So our reports generally ended up between 60 and 85 mile per hour winds, one of the most powerful windstorms the Inland Northwest has ever experienced. That is certainly on the extreme end of our reports. Now, the rest of the afternoon, I think our wind speeds will just back off to 50 to 60 miles per hour, which is still very fast, still at the level that it can do damage, but any more damage, any more power outages should be of a limited scope, as opposed to just absolutely widespread. If you were watching us on Up with KREM through the course of the morning, we were updating the power outage number, and every time I saw it, it jumped up by another couple thousand, or in some cases, it was like 20,000 more people without power compared to the hour before. I believe we peaked at over 100,000 people without power at one point this morning due to, again, those extreme style winds. We'll cover more about the blizzard in the Cascades a little bit deeper into this KREM 2 Plus special, but I will hold on to that thought for now because the tree damage has been extensive. Here's just two of the pictures out of Coeur d'Alene from just before dawn. As you see, one of the trees covering this particular road, making it, of course, impassable. This one just wanted to take the fence with it. And we did unfortunately hear that this windstorm did turn deadly in Kootenai County as a tree did fall on a house, killing one person. So that obviously really devastating to hear, but that is what we are trying to make sure that we are communicating, that trees falling contains a tremendous amount of force and power and is very, very dangerous, as we've seen in the region. Obviously, that's just two of the pictures that we've seen across the region. A lot of you have been sharing your photos with us as well. And if we have that, we can pull that up for you as well. I'd like to just share just all the extensive damage to give you a perspective as to what we have felt and what we have seen in the region. Pullman right there in the middle. You see just the heavy rain and the wind when we had those 80 mile per hour wind gusts. You see the extensive tree damage all over the region. There's one out of Lewiston, Idaho. Again, the maximum 84 mile per hour wind speeds recorded in that region. So again, that's just the perspective. And a lot of those trees, again, creating just extensive damage. In the cases of when it does fall on power lines, that tends to be how we often end up with power outages. And at one point, it was 100,000 people without power. As for right now, conditions have, again, just kind of backed off. I don't want to say it's not windy. I don't want to say it's less than it was before, though it is just from a data perspective, not as bad as 80 mile per hour winds, but we are still going to have 50 to 60 mile per hour wind speeds for the remainder of the day. If there's a tree that's leaning over that didn't go down yet, one more wind gust might be all that it takes to still push it over. So that is what we are still monitoring for. And we do have Brandon T. Jones that is out in our storm tracker for today. And I want to bring Brandon in, who has been doing a fantastic job, again, offering that perspective, giving us unique views into the world and into our communities of what this damage may look like. So Brandon, I want to ask, first of all, where are you right now? And what has the damage, or in this case, maybe even cleanup, started to look like across the region? What are you seeing, my friend?
Yeah, hey there, Thomas. Well, you talked about how powerful those winds were. There were moments this morning where, we got out of the storm tracker and you could literally feel those winds kind of trying to knock you off of your feet. Right now, though, we are in Coeur d'Alene. We're on I-90 here, so we'll get off on an exit here pretty soon. Thankfully, things do look rather smooth on I-90. We're not seeing any type of trees down on any of this roadway. Elsewhere in the region, though, we've been able to see some of those trees that have come down. We've seen trees fall down in front of people's homes, narrowly missing. As you reported, Thomas, unfortunately, there was a fatality out here in Kootenai County because of a downed tree that went through someone's home. But again, throughout the morning, we've been seeing power outages, downed trees, debris flying around. And something else that you kind of spoke on as well, Thomas, is that you said you didn't want to say, hey, it's not windy anymore by any means. That's something we also, as I was kind of listening to you go through your forecast, definitely not as windy, but there's moments where, hey, you see that wind starting to pick back up, or you even feel the gust as you're driving here on the road. So it easily can start to shake the car just a little bit. And again, keeping our eyes on some of these trees as well. We were near Forest Cemetery earlier this morning, and at one point we heard the snap. The tree went down while we were over there. We, of course, kind of started to make our way away from that just to, think about our own safety. But we're getting off on one of the exits right here now in Coeur d'Alene. This is the 4th Street exit, getting ready to kind of do a drive around. You can see all of the flags here waving around. Every now and then you see a little bit of those branches down on the ground as well. But again, just kind of stay vigilant. You can see debris kind of flying out in the middle of the road because those winds, again, are still rather strong, especially when we get some of those gusts that make their way here through the region. But we even spoke with one woman, again, who she had a tree, a large blue spruce tree, fall in front of her home this morning, just inches away from damaging the home that's been in her family for more than 100 years. You'll be able to hear from her coming up in our noon show as well. But again, we kind of just want to continue to assess some of the damage. As if I'm not looking at you right here at the camera, it's because this is a new portion of road that we're driving on right now. So I'm keeping my eyes peeled, trying to see kind of what things are looking like out here. Before I toss it back to you, Thomas, I'll just pan over to the right. You can see some of the downed branches, see things of that nature. But again, we'll continue to make our way around, and we want to say thank you, Thomas, for keeping us up to date. Again, 70-mile-per-hour gust is nothing to kind of scoff at. That's, I'm from Florida. The Category 1 hurricane is described as wind speeds, sustained wind speeds that are roughly about 75 miles per hour to 94 miles per hour. So when you put that into perspective and you think about how strong some of these gusts that we were getting out here this morning, it kind of makes you pause for a second and just think about, wow, this is a very serious weather event. So again, I just want to say we are thankful for your expertise and keeping us informed and letting us know how we could get prepared as well. So I'll go ahead and toss it back to you in the studio, Thomas.
Brandon, you are too kind. Again, thank you again for your expert reporting, giving us kind of that perspective and honestly offering a bit of your own personal perspective. I actually love that Brandon mentioned hurricanes, because I was going to mention tornadoes growing up in the Midwest myself. An EF1 tornado has winds of at least 86 miles per hour. And you saw the reports earlier, Lewiston had 84 mile per hour winds. That is almost to the same strength as an EF1 tornado. It is almost to the same strength as a Category 1 hurricane. I actually kind of liked the hurricane analogy almost a bit better in this case, because this has been a widespread issue. This isn't just one community or one block of streets where only a few neighbors may have been affected by 80 mile per hour winds. This was a widespread issue for the region. This is impacting everyone in the inland Northwest. I take you back to our satellite and radar weather map. Can I show you the Pacific Northwest view? This is the windstorm positioning, and it really got revealed to me as this low pressure center, which is the core of the storm, crossed the Rocky Mountains. it really started to swirl and wrap up, and I was like, oh, there it is. It was actually a lot closer through southern British Columbia than I initially thought. I had analyzed it a little bit farther to the north. But this is the exact positioning of a classic windstorm for Spokane. 2021, 2015, now 2025, when we have low pressure centers that drive through this area just north of the Canadian border, that drives all that wind through our region. So this was absolutely textbook for an example of how to get some of the strongest wind gusts possible. And again, it just takes advantage of our terrain, the Columbia Basin, and a lot of that flatter land through central Washington, as opposed to those very steep mountains of the Cascades or even the northern Washington ridges. It takes advantage of that terrain, and that's why these winds absolutely just scream through central and eastern Washington. To recap here at 11:20 a.m., we are still under high wind warnings until 4 p.m. today for wind gusts, still likely up to 60 miles per hour for the remainder of the afternoon, though we have experienced wind gusts up to 85 miles per hour from earlier this morning. And in Spokane, we did set a brand new record for fastest wind speeds ever recorded out at the airport. That was 75 miles per hour. We had a few bursts of some heavier rain earlier along with that cold front, which ended up being the focal point and that point of attack of those strongest winds. That's well over Montana now, way off to the east. The storm is actually moving at 70 miles per hour currently, so it's had a few hours to get out of the inland northwest. And all we're left with on Doppler radar, all you see is just a few spots that's basically the radar actually just seeing the mountains. Not exactly any snow or any rain, it just sees the mountains in this case. There may still be snow squalls. Squall being a sudden onset of precipitation. And in this case, it has actually cooled down to the point where we are going to get some mountain snowfall. It looks like it's right over Silver Mountain right now, this particular snow squall. If it continues south, it may end up raining along I-90, and that will also be accompanied by these gusty winds that are still currently present. Here's a little bit of some mountain snow just to the west of Bonners Ferry and far, far north Idaho. There may be the occasional snow shower even in northeastern Washington. Same for the mountains of the Cascades. Honestly, if we have to take one positive away from this storm, it's that it finally cooled us off, that we are seeing a return of mountain snow conditions, because after a week and a half of atmospheric river, warm snow melt weather, that has not been ideal for the mountains. That's what caused all the flooding issues that we've had recently. So it's about time that we do start seeing snow in the mountains, but it is still going to be impactful and affecting, especially travelers. If you're going to be heading along I-90 out towards Snoqualmie Pass, honestly, there looks like there's a little bit of a break in the action, but not much. You're going to see those mountain pass conditions in a moment. I do want to reference how much colder it got quickly this morning. When I got into the office at about 4 a.m., it was still 50 degrees outside. That's going to be our high temperature for the day. The rest of the afternoon, we're going to have a hard time even cracking 40 degrees because that cold front was so sharp and so powerful that these winds are rushing in that cold air immediately. We almost had a 10-degree temperature drop in just 1 hour this morning as we went from about 49 to 39 degrees. And that's about where we've stayed for the remainder of the morning. We're still at 39 in Spokane and Spokane Valley, 40 at Whitworth, and 40 in Coeur d'Alene. Might get to like 42 degrees because of the sunshine that we have, but it's not going to be all that much warmer than that. As for our future tracker, this is going to simulate not only today's remaining weather, but actually tomorrow's storm, because one thing that has been pushed a little bit to the side, more than I would like it to be, is that tomorrow is actually a weather impact alert day due to the return of lowland snowfall as well. So here's just a peek of what's going to happen. Today, it's actually just sunny for the remainder of the day. Not an enjoyable weather day because of the wind and the kind of sharply colder weather that rushed in behind this windstorm's cold front. Tomorrow, it gets to the point where that next storm, which just comes right in its wheel tracks, gives us actually a good chance of snow, albeit a slushy snowfall, as you'll see. But this is the modeling at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it actually looks like it'll be snow or a rain-snow mix across a large section of the inland Northwest. Really from Pullman to Ritzville, there's like this pink line that's delineating the slushier snow and just outright rain to the south of that. Spokane, I actually do see some pink just kind of hidden behind the nameplates here, so that's probably a rain-snow mix. Won't stick in downtown Spokane, but Airway Heights and the South Hill and the higher elevations of Spokane County actually do get snowfall. So now we're already transitioning into tomorrow's forecast again. Here's the thing though, we might start the day at like 36 to 38 degrees where it is just cold enough for snow, like that wet snowfall. By late afternoon, almost early evening, which by the way, this is 3 p.m., the rain overtakes the region as we get up to about 40 degrees. Just warm enough for rain, and any early morning snow or midday snow actually just melts away pretty quickly. So I don't think this is going to be a big time snow event for the region. It's just going to be wet and messy. And we've seen that a few times already this winter. So by the afternoon, things transition back to rain. It won't be a 50-degree rain. It'll be like a 40-degree rain, which is like that colder rain, but warm enough for it to not snow. But after that morning snow, I think it might catch a few people off guard. So I wanted to make sure everybody still gets a heads up on that. Here's what I'm looking at. You're going to see a lot of 0 to 1. Just like last time, the snow's going to have a hard time sticking to the ground. It's just a little too slushy. Even areas like Airway Heights, slightly higher elevation, maybe a half an inch of snow at first, and then it will melt away. So that's why I think most of the region stays less than an inch of snow. I did notice some computer models are a little bit more generous for our northern areas, Sandpoint, even Deer Park, Colville, Republic. These regions could get that 1 or 2 inch of snow, but it's still a wet and still a very slushy snow. We'll see how things play out for tomorrow. Please just don't get caught off guard for tomorrow. The winds shouldn't be as bad, still maybe 25 miles per hour, but we can handle 25 miles per hour because that's a third of what we've seen today with those maximum speeds at 75 miles per hour. Here's again a big reason why I'm not too worried about snow tomorrow. High temperature of 40 degrees. The rain will eventually overtake the region, so snow not a huge issue. Maybe our northern areas, which can barely get to 36, 38 degrees, that's kind of in the realm of, I might just barely get to rain, but if you get more snow at first, you might get that full inch of snow before it starts getting wet and slushy outside. Now to our mountain forecast. If you are looking for any travel plans, assistance for the mountain passes, I have actually been personally asked about this recently. Here's the latest. And happens every once in a while, maybe like once every other year, get blizzard warnings. That's these red shaded areas across the Cascades, as well as the Olympic National Park. Up to a foot of snow for some of these mountains. For Snoqualmie Pass, I think it was more last night, and you're starting to see the tail end of this system. This is not counting what is incoming for tomorrow. In fact, these blizzard warnings are set to expire at 12 p.m. today, which is in just about 30 minutes. But this is still going to cause some dangerous travel conditions. I would say White Pass should be avoided here. Stevens Pass, actually, you can't go over it. It is closed just after Leavenworth due to a different issue. And Washington Pass in the North Cascades, that is closed for the season. Really, Snoqualmie Pass is kind of your only bet to get across the state. At the moment, it looks okay just based on the camera images here. So here it is on the left. This is kind of the nearest camera that I saw. It's not the summit. It's Tinkham Road, which is just west of the summit. Wet. Definitely wet. So if roads are wet, they're definitely passable. Traction tires are advised, but it's not you need to chain up. Honestly, that camera image made me think, I think it's okay right now. And as the blizzard warnings expire, it's passable, but you'll still want to be cautious because of the winds. Sherman Pass is doing okay. Again, the highest elevation pass in Washington State that stays open year-round. A little bit of some snow and slush on the road. That is typical all winter long. They'll get more snow tomorrow. So here's Lookout Pass, and you might be thinking, that is not a live look. It is dark outside, and you would be right. That is 7 a.m., and that's the last image we got out of Lookout Pass. And 7 a.m. is exactly when they got the strongest winds from today's windstorm. I think the camera went down at 7 a.m. at Lookout Pass. That was the last look that we got. There may be some snow squalls in the region, a la we're seeing near Silver Mountain right now. More snow on the way tomorrow, as mentioned. It's not a huge issue for the lowlands, but for mountain passes, I think Lookout Pass ends up getting about 3 to 6 inches of total snowfall. As for flooding alerts, we're still dealing with some of the aftermath of the atmospheric river and rivers from the last week and a half. Obviously, the issues over Western Washington are well noted. Some of the levee failures in that region has still prompted flood warnings. There is still this flood advisory for North Idaho. The recent rain and snow melt has created some ongoing issues, though they've been less and less last couple days. And hopefully with the return of mountain snow, it will shut off the flooding issues for a bit, but we'll still be cautious of any more rain that might intrude in the area. And as for Leavenworth and Highway 2, I mentioned that Stevens Pass is impassable, and that would be because of the flooding issues and some of the residual results. This is Highway 2. I believe this would be the eastbound lane that just crumbled away into the mountain face. This runs along the Wenatchee River, and you just can't use Highway 2 to the west of Leavenworth. There are no easy detours to this either. Basically, the next closest is Snoqualmie Pass. So if you want to get to Everett, you got to go over Snoqualmie Pass and then go up I-5. You can't take Highway 2, and that's going to take probably months for this to get fixed, if not all winter. Like, that's a serious issue that has happened at Leavenworth. To wrap things up here on this KREM 2 Plus exclusive live stream on our Weather Impact Alert Day, we've had one of our strongest windstorms probably of all time here in Spokane. This is a kind of windstorm that we will be referring to as Windstorm 2025 in future events. We will be making comparisons in terms of wind speed, power outages, and damage across the region. And this has been an absolutely classic case. From a meteorological perspective, this is the pattern. If you see a low pressure region strengthen as it moves through British Columbia, that always gives us by far the strongest wind speeds through the fall and winter time. And that is exactly what has happened here. I'm actually going to be curating a special on how we get windstorms for Weather Out West next week for Christmas week. And this is going to be part of the example, because you could put this in a textbook, just low pressure developing and screaming through the region. And that's why we had wind gusts well above 70 miles per hour. We'll wrap things up nicely here today. The rest of the day is a weather impact alert day due to the strong winds. High wind warnings going until 4 o'clock. Wind gusts still 50 to 60 miles per hour for the remainder of the day, even though we had those wind gusts as high as 85 miles per hour earlier. Tomorrow, don't get caught off guard. Some snow in the morning and midday, changing to rain by afternoon and evening as our temperatures will slowly warm up. So just don't get caught off guard by the return of some winter weather, albeit a slushy snow, before it becomes a lot wetter and turns to rain by Thursday evening. And it actually stays pretty active on the remainder of the 7-day forecast. A lot of chances for rain and snow. A lot of that will depend on just the time of day it occurs. Like, morning hours may lean to more snow, afternoon may lean to more rain, since we're kind of hovering right at about 40 to 42 degrees for high temperatures each and every day through the extended forecast. Christmas almost in view, and it's going to be still active between now and then. But for now, high wind warnings remain in effect all throughout the inland Northwest until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Highest wind speeds remaining should be up to 60 miles per hour after hitting a record 75 mile per hour wind speeds earlier today in Spokane. There is still extensive damage and extensive power outages across the region. So do drive carefully. Make sure to do whatever you can to stay safe, and make sure to stay away from any trees that may look like they're about to topple down. More damage and power outages possible with those strong wind speeds today. As always, you can stay on top of the latest weather alerts at KREM.com, and actually through myself as well, Meteorologist Thomas Patrick, on most social media platforms. That'll do it for this KREM 2 Plus exclusive live stream. We thank you very much for watching and tuning in and making sure that you are well informed and well prepared for all of the weather events and hazards ahead. Stay safe for the rest of the day today. I will see you shortly on KREM 2 News at noon, and then again tomorrow morning on Up with KREM from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m.